Yo, what's going on, snipers, and welcome back to our Detroit Red Wings franchise mode here in NHL 21. So in the last episode, we made a few trades, and one of them was a little bit questionable as we brought in Connor McDavid to try and give our team a little bit more of an offensive boost going into the playoffs, because our team was kind of struggling in terms of offense and a little bit on defense, but not as much. So yeah, we made a few trades, and our team had one of the weirdest seasons I think we've ever had, and we finished 41-32-9, just barely making it into the playoffs with like a 3-6-1 record in our last 10 games. And now we are going to be taking on the Ottawa Senators in the first round, who had a very good season going 50-24-8, and they are 9-0-1 in their last 10 games. Now I'm really hoping our team could somehow be the cheese team to knock these guys out of the playoffs, and hopefully that kind of sparks us some momentum, and maybe we could be the cheese team that goes on to the Stanley Cup Finals or wins the Stanley Cup for that matter. I would really hope that's the case, but I don't really know because I'm kind of a little bit nervous to see how our team actually assimilates during this playoff run. But as you can see, at the end of the regular season, we actually had 2 games against the Ottawa Senators back-to-back before the series, where we lost both of them by a final score of 7-1 finals between the two of them. The earlier matchups against the Senators, we won one actually in the shootout, which is nice, and then we lost one 3-1. So overall wise, we did not play good against them during the regular season, which is to be expected. At least we got 1 win, but hopefully in this playoff matchup we could somehow string together 4 wins and go on to the next round. We have eliminated higher seeded teams before in the playoffs, but I don't know if we're going to be able to eliminate this Ottawa Senators team, because they are a pretty good young team, it looks like, for the most part. I'll show you guys their roster again, just in case you didn't catch the end of last episode, because the last episode for some reason was like 40 minutes long. So here is their top line. They got Anthony Bolton with Philippe Couture and Hunter Berard. All these guys are 25 and below. Second line, they also have some good young guys in Gordy Gormley, a veteran in Ryan Suzuki, who was with us way back in the day. He was one of my first trades I think I made in this franchise mode. But yeah, he left us and then eventually went on to Anaheim, Vancouver, San Jose, and now he's been in Ottawa the past 2 seasons with some pretty good years there so far. And then they also have Emmanuel Boussier, who I think, yeah, they picked up, but they have like just a lot of good young talent on this team. Like, it's kind of scary to an extent, and I don't know if we're going to be able to beat this team, but maybe we can since we have experience from last season. Their defensive core is a little bit weaker than ours, but it still does have some pretty good players like Yager and Brainstrom and Simic, for example. And then their goaltending is okay as well. They have our former goaltender in Isaiah Curtis, and they also have Torsten Oland as their backup. And they do have 2 major injuries at the moment in Magnus Nicholson, or not Nicholson, NICKULAS, and Philip Tomasino. Now Nicholas, I think, is going to be back for Game 6, and Tomasino is going to miss the rest of the series. So it's kind of intriguing to see if our team could win some games early on to help us not have to face a defenseman like Nicholas, because Nicholas is probably pretty good, I would assume. This is only his 4th NHL season. Looks like the Sens have been a bad team for the last few years, so this is probably one of their first opportunities in the playoffs. But without further ado, let's get into this round 1 matchup and see if we could actually get to the second round somehow. I'm really hoping this team could turn it around, because like I had to trade away like Mitchell Tucker in last episode, which was kind of questionable. He actually had to play in Colorado's AHL affiliate, which is a little weird, but this is what our lineups look like going into this first round playoffs. I did decide to change it up a little bit. But I do have Connor McDavid now on the power play lines, just because he actually played somewhat solid for not having any power play time with us down the stretch with 14 points in 30 games. And I'm really hoping he could produce in the playoffs to get us maybe a Stanley Cup chance. So that is what our team looks like, and there's our defensive core. Larson is dropping off. I don't know if it's because he's not playing on the top 4 like he is listed. So I don't know if he's going to be coming back this offseason, just because he probably wants top 4 minutes. So he might be on his way out potentially, because obviously I would rather keep like Stewart over him and that type of thing. But let's get into this first round matchup. We are going to run with our goalie that we signed in the offseason last year for this first round for a little bit. And if he drops like 2 games in a row, then we could always turn to our backup, which is Punovs. So yeah, let's get into Game 1 in Ottawa and see if we could somehow upset these Ottawa Senators, or are we going to be packing our bags in the first round like we've done so many times before. First period of Game 1, and it is scoreless, so I'll take that. That's pretty good of an opening period. Shots are 10 apiece, so both teams playing pretty evenly so far, which is kind of good. I would say we're a better defensive team than they are, but they are a better offensive team. Second period, and we're up 1-0. Let's go. Bullion scores on Curtis, so that's good to see Bullion get going. He's obviously been one of our best goal scorers the last like 3 to 4 seasons. He didn't have as good of a year this year, but a majority of people on our forward core did not score a whole lot of goals. So let's see what happens here in this third period, see if we can lock this one down. I feel like I'm talking a little bit too quick. If I'm talking too quick, I apologize. I don't know why I'm talking so quick, but we're up 1-0 still. Final 10 minutes of this third period. Let's lock this down, boys. Get some maybe insurance if we can. Pretty good game so far from our goaltending, and we are going to get a 1-0 shutout in game 1, outshooting the Sens 38-30. So a very good defensive effort. Hopefully our offense can get going a little bit more. But we had a lot of shots, and Bullion with the only goal from Koleminainen in big, so not too bad. 3 stars in that game. Curtis for them gets first star, surprisingly, probably because he faced a lot more shots. But Gustavo Nickel with a 30-save shutout in his playoff debut. And then Bullion gets third star with the game-winning goal. Pretty good opening game, I would say. Hopefully we can continue that into game 2. Like I said, we only won against the Sens once during the regular season, but we already got 1 win here in game 1. Let's see if we can take a 2-0 series lead here going back home. That would be nice, but I don't know if it's going to be the case because the Sens are a good team. We can never count them out considering they had 50 wins in the regular season. First period of game 2, and it is a 2-2 game. Okay, so we scored 2 first goals, and they already changed goaltenders after the first goal against, which I don't know why the case is. If there was a goaltending injury, if that is the case, that would be nice, but Pau scores on Isaiah Curtis, and then Oland was in net, so Larson scores on him. But then Boussier and Simic score for them, so it's a 2-2 game. We have 2 goals on 9 shots. I don't know why Curtis got pulled so early. If it was like maybe the first shot that he allowed or something like that. But we're going to outshot 15-9 going into the second. Let's see if we could have a better period, I would say, in the second, because surrendering that 2-goal lead that we had is not a good thing. Second period, and we are up by 1 goal, 4-3. This is a crazy offensive game as Bullion gets his second goal in his back-to-back games. WAHL makes it a 4-2 lead, but then Salo with a late goal makes it only a 1-goal game. Shots are 25-22 in favor of the Sens. Let's see what happens here in this third period. See if we can lock this one down. Big penalty kill opportunity, and we killed off. And Alexandrov with his first playoff goal makes it a 5-3 game, but Berard makes it 5-4. De Kaiser makes it 6-4. Geez, this is a very offensive game. Like, we shut them out last game, but we're allowing a lot of goals this game. Rasmussen makes it 6-5. Power play opportunity. We don't score on it. Final few minutes, and there's a 7-5 empty netter from De Kaiser, and we win game 2 7-5. So a very offensive game, but we do end up winning, and we have a 2-0 series lead headed home on the Ottawa Senators, who won 50 games. So we are being that cheese team right now, which is kind of nice to see. So in the first period, Pau scored from Bullion and Koleminainen, and Larson scored from Matthews and Dingman. Then they scored 2 goals, and then Bullion scored from Koleminainen and Pau. WAHL scored from Dingman and De Kaiser. And then they made it a 1-goal game again, and then Alexandrov made it a 2-goal game for McDavid and Stewart. So good to see McDavid getting on the board. And then De Kaiser got a goal from Matthews and Larson, and De Kaiser got an empty netter from James Stewart too. So that's pretty good. De Kaiser gets first star with 3 points. Pau does second star, and Boussier the third star for them. But a pretty good game from Connor McDavid to pick up that 1 assist. I think his plus minus must have been decent as well. Yeah, +1. He only had 1 shot on goal, which is a little weird. But he's winning faceoffs and all that sort of thing, so that's why I brought him in as a veteran presence. And besides, I think McDavid, even though he's old, he will probably simulate well this playoff run. So I'm hoping that he can continue that going on in this entire series and whatnot. So we are up 2-0 in the series. We've outscored them 8-5 in the first 2 games, but 5 of the goals came in that last game. Let's see if we can take a 3-0 series lead here as we shift to home ice. Come on, boys. Let's keep the momentum rolling. First period of game 3, and we are up 1-0 again. Let's go. It's Tristan WAHL on the power play. That's nice to see. Shots are 11-10 in favor of them. Second period, and we're up 2-1. Let's go. Brandstrom tied it up for them, so it's our version of WAHL scoring on us, I guess you could say. But WAHL answers with another goal, so WAHL has 2 goals in a game, which I don't think I've ever seen him score 2 goals in a playoff game before. We're being outshot 20-18, but we are up 2-1 going into this third. Let's see what happens. Can we lock this one down as well? We're totally acting like the cheese team right now that didn't have a good record during the regular season, but all of a sudden is turning it on in the playoffs. I really hope we can do this all playoffs long. Come on, boys. Final 5 minutes of this third period. Lock it down. And we are going to win 2-1, and we have a 3-0 stranglehold on the Ottawa Senators, and we're 1 win away from going back to round 2. I am really kind of surprised that we're actually able to play this good against a really good team, but we are the cheese team, it seems like, that just barely made it in and now could go on a tear potentially. So WAHL with both goals. The first one was from Powell and the second one from Kolemainen and Stewart. So Stewart's actually had a pretty good offensive round so far. I think he's got like 3 assists. So WAHL the first star, Nickel the second star, and Curtis the third star. I wouldn't say Curtis has had a bad series for them, like he had a bad game number 2, but he's been pretty good for them defensively. It's just their offense hasn't been able to get going except for that one game. But hopefully we don't blow a 3-0 series lead here, or else that would be kind of shameful. Looks like our AHL team also made the playoffs. Yep, they're going against Rockford. Interesting. Who's leading us in points right now? It's Kolemainen with 4 assists in 3 games. Good to see him play good in the playoffs, because I'm kind of debating about trading him at some point, because his regular season numbers this year, he only had like 50-something points, and we're paying him like over $11 million, which is a little bit risky, I would say, especially when we have better players that need better contracts. Like, for example, like Stewart's going to need a big contract at some point. WAHL's getting paid like $13 million, I think, so... Anyways, let's get into game number 4 and see if we could sweep the Ottawa Senators and head to the second round. Come on, boys. I believe in you, boys. First period of game 4 on home ice, and it's 2-1 us. Let's go. Hobbs and McDavid score, so McDavid gets on the board. That's why I brought him in for that veteran leadership kind of role, I guess you could say. Hobbs gets one of his first ever playoff goals, I think, because he's only played like 2 years in the playoffs. And then Salo gets a goal for the Sens to pull them within 1. Shots are 8-5 in favor of us. Second period, and we're down 3-2. That's not good. Come on, Gustavo, you got to play a little bit better than that. He's not been, I would say, great in this series. He's had 2 good games, but the other 2 games haven't been that good. Suzuki on the power play makes it a 2-2 game, and then Arthur Kaliev gives it a 3-2 lead for the Sens going into the third. We're outshooting them 15-14, so it hasn't been a lot of shots between the 2 teams so far in this game. Can we tie this one up here in the third? Come on, boys. Or else we're going to have to go back to Ottawa and try and win again. And Bouillon gets another goal in his first round. It's a 3-3 game on the power play. And Jose Stewart makes it a 4-3. Garrison gets his first playoff goal to make it 5-3. Wong makes it 6-3. We are just destroying them in this third period. Well, we are going on to the second round with a sweep of the Ottawa Senators somehow, who won 50 games in the regular season. It's nice to be the cheese team for a change instead of being that dominant team that gets cheesed. So we outshot them 26-24, but we get 4 goals in the third period, all from different lines, it seems like. But a very good game from our boys. Again, offensively, not a great defensive game, I would say still, but good nonetheless. So Hobbs from Garrison and Larson, McDavid from Alexandrov and WAHL, Bouillon from Dingman and Matthews, Stewart from McDavid and WAHL, Garrison from Wong and Savonin, and Wong from Garrison. Good to see Wong and Garrison getting on the board since they're on the 4th line. Garrison actually gets first star with 3 points, McDavid the second star with 2 points, and Wong the third star with 2 points. So that's our 3rd and 4th line getting 3 stars. So it's good to see our depth actually showing up in the playoffs like it did last year. I was kind of worried that it wouldn't show up. As Yuka goes down with an injury in the AHL, I thought it was going to be an NHL player, so I'm glad that it was only Yuka in the AHL. But we do sweep the Ottawa Senators. Very good first round for our boys. Let's take a look at our player stats going into round 2, and then I will take a look at who we're going up against in the second round of the playoffs. So let's go by centers. So Coley Minon's point per game with 4 assists in 4 games. Powell, McDavid, and Matthews all 3 points. So yeah, you can see why I brought in Connor McDavid to help out that offensive flow a little bit. And then Helps had 1 goal in 4 games. Left wing wise, DeKaiser had 3 points. Wong had 2 points. Hillis had no points, but he is getting shots on goal, and he also is a +4, so that's nice to see. Right wing wise, Bullion had 4 points in 4 games. Garrison and Dingman both had 3 points, and Alexandrov had 2 points. So forward wise, every forward except for Hillis had a point in that first round, so that's really good to see, especially considering it was only a 4-game series. And then defensively, WAHL had 5 points in 4 games, so it looks like WAHL is having the best playoffs of his career so far. I mean, last year he had 12 points in 14 games and he was a +15. This year he's starting pretty much the exact same, 5 points in 4 games. He's a +7 within those 4 games as well. So our top 6 has been very good so far. Stewart, 4 points in 4 games. That's actually kind of impressive to see as well, because he's not really an offensive defenseman. As you can see, he only had 19 points in the regular season. And last year in 14 playoff games, he only had 4 assists. So he's already doing as good as he did last year in the postseason. And he's also shooting way better too. Larson, 3 points in 4 games is pretty good as well. Savonin and Biggs both with 1 point each. Kind of a little bit bad for Biggs, but I'm hoping that he can pick it up in the second round. And then no points for Aker, who we brought in from the Carolina Hurricanes, I believe. And then goaltending wise, Gustavo Nickel was pretty solid, a .918 save percentage, 1 shutout, and a 2.47 goals against average. And then Punos played a little bit of 1 game for, how many minutes was it? 21 minutes, so he played 1 period. I guess that was in that game that was really offensive, if I'm not mistaken. And he didn't allow a single goal. Pretty good. Now the question is, who are we going to be going up in the second round in the playoffs? Last year we took on the Florida Panthers in the second round and we beat them. And then in the conference finals we got beat by New Jersey. So hopefully it's not any team that we've played before, really. And we are going to be facing, as Grand Rapids gets eliminated, I guess I'll throw Ukulele back in. I'll just go best lines down there. Boom. As we're going to be taking on the Tampa Bay Lightning in the second round. Oh man, hello old friend in Tampa. So Tampa's eliminated us like 4 or 5 times in the postseason before. We have never beaten them in the postseason. So next episode is going to be very tough. Whoever wins the series, though, will face either Pittsburgh or Washington in the conference finals. Well, there is the Western Conference. You got Vancouver in Anaheim and St. Louis in Edmonton. Let's take a look at those Tampa Bay Lightning and see how much they've changed since we played them last. Because we didn't play them last year, but we did play them like for 4 years in a row, I think it was. But they do still have Ludwig Enroth, who's been with them since like we played them multiple times. Pretty good player there. And then they also have Braden Wilm, who was brought in from Colorado. Wow, that's a really good pickup for them. Kind of scared by that, because Colorado had to let him go after they've won, I think they won a cup recently. So yeah, that's a pretty scary acquisition for Tampa. They also have George St. Denis, who I think was there last time we played them. Second line, they have Sam Reinhart, who's still playing at 39 years of age. Braden Point, who's coming back from injury, and he's 39 as well. So 2 old guys there. And Boris Kachuk, who's 36 years old. So a very old second line. Third line rise, they have Carl Schrimp, who was drafted by the Dallas Stars not too long ago. Kind of surprised that Tampa was able to acquire him so early on to his career. They also have former centerman of our fourth line, Nelson Perrin. Of course, Nelson Perrin decides at free agency to sign with the team that eliminated us so much. And he had a best season of his career with 27 points. We know this guy could win a lot of face-offs. I'm kind of scared a little bit by that. I know he's not a huge offensive threat, but he did have 4 points in the first round, so yikes. And they also have Trevor Parent, who they drafted at 9th overall a couple years back. Fourth line, Theo Yzerman, who they drafted as well. Tommy Salmonen and Mikko Rantanen still playing as well at 38. So this is a very veteran-heavy team, but with some good mix of youth. I'm kind of scared by their forward core, I would say. And then defensively, they do still have some very similar defensemen, but it has changed a bit since we played them. So they do still have Mikhail Sergachev, but Sergachev is dropping off a lot. They have Moritz Seider, who was obviously a defenseman for us for multiple years before we eventually traded him to, I think it was, Colorado. And then, actually, we let him go and he went to Colorado, and then he played in Minnesota for a bit, Winnipeg. He also played in the AHL briefly, which is a little weird, and then he went back to Tampa Bay. I'm kind of scared by that. Second pairing, they have Sean Jersey and Nicholas Beaudin, and then top 6-wise, they have Lou Hader still and Jesper Halvardsson. So, a very veteran-heavy defensive core except for this top 6 pairing. And then goaltending-wise, they do still have Caden Primo. So, Caden Primo's been there for a long time. And how does he simulate still? He's playing pretty solid, I would say. Playoff-wise, he's been really good for them, which is kind of scary. And they have Dante Wellwood, who was, I guess, a recent goalie that they brought in. Yeah, he played in the AHL last season. And then depth-wise, they have Jesper Boquist, they have Kyler Mewey, and they also have Nicholas Donald. So overall-wise, I would say we have the defensive upper hand again. Forward-wise, I would probably say it is kind of close. And then goaltending-wise, I'd say we have the upper hand. But then again, Tampa Bay has beaten us so many times before in the postseason that I can never say that we could actually beat them. Because if I say that, then we're going to end up getting like swept or something. So, anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of our Detroit Red Wings franchise mode. So, in next episode, we will take it to the second round of the playoffs as we take on the Tampa Bay Lightning, who went 43-31-8 in the regular season, and see if we could actually finally slay that demon that has been beating us for so many times in the last few years. So, let me know what you guys think down below, and I'll see you guys next time.